Namaste and good morning. We are commencing the 17th session of South Asian Online Literary Conference being organized by Sahitya Akademi and Foundation of SAARC Writers and Literature. With us on screen, the writers are Dr. Ramdayal Rakeshji from Nepal, Dr. Dhruvajyoti Boraji from India, and respected Ajit Kaurman is also there with us. The other writer participants, Dr. Selina Hossain, Ms. Noor Kamroon Nahar, Dr. Chandra Trikha will hopefully join us soon. At the outset, I request Dr. Ramdayal Rakeshji to present his paper.
Okay, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
First of all, I am equally grateful to respected Madam Ajit Kaur and Sahitya Akademi for providing me this opportunity to present my paper in this conclave. For your kind information, I presented a paper on Sufism in 2019 conclave, and this time also I am going to present my paper on Sufism, but it is a revised copy. So now I start my paper. Much before the advent of Islam, hermits used to wear woolen gowns. Even Saint John, who baptized Lord Christ, is said to have worn woolen attire. R. Chaturvedi, Sufi Kavya Sangra. According to the Encyclopedia of Religions and Ethics, in Arabic literature, persons distinct with the word were termed as Sufi. The story of Abu Bakr wearing a limb woolen garment also endorses this theory. R.P. Tewari, Sufi Mat, Sadhana or Sahitya. There were three great poets in the 12th and 13th century, such as Sanai, Attar, and Rumi. Rumi, the Turkish Sufi poet, wrote, "Angel is free because of his knowledge, the beast because of his ignorance. Between the two remains the son of man to struggle." Sufism spread far and wide in spite of oppression by the Muslim rulers. In the 13th century, there were many Sufi shrines. It was divided into many sects. I am not going to mention them all. I skip. I quote, "Mystic interpretation of Islamic life within the bounds of religions orthodoxy is known as Sufism, which was initially launched by God-fearing people of Perso-Arab world. They renounced the world and devoted themselves to his service. As the seekers of Tawhid, unity in God, they helped in spread of Islam through mystic movement with intellectualization of Sunnah, the orthodox Islamic world, as one of its basic principles. Encyclopedia of Islam. I unquote, "The Sufis, either in their lifetime or their tombs after death, became a symbol of supernatural power with metaphysical features ascribed to them under the guidance of Quran and Sunnah. the disciple of Sufis adopted the path of peace or even armed jihad for sanitization of the whole world as a mission of holy duty. Seekers of Tawhid should strive to dedicate themselves to the Prophet Muhammad, so much so that the entire self, including their hearts and their spirits, were free of thoughts other than of God. Mysticism is a practically spiritual discipline based on the insight of illuminated seekers after truth. It is in fact a mission of higher religious order of any faith which disdains strife and conflict in any form. Joy of self-realization, being the essence of religion, is experienced after a long spiritual practice. The mystics discard outward forms of religion once they attain such joy. The concept of Sufism was therefore to focus the mystic power on the spiritual dimension of Islam with a view to shield the believers from the outwardly and unrealistic dogma of the faith. Sufi saints are generally viewed as symbol of secularism. They were receptive to some of the local Hindu traditions, but the Sufis overlooked the plight of Hindu priests and saints who were focused to life and hide themselves. I quote, passion to the essential spirituality of life was hardly found in any Muslim ruler or prince except Dara Sheikh 1659. He was perhaps the only sincere Muslim prince whose effort was to find a common ground between Hindu and Muslim religions, uh, Islamic mysticism in India. I unquote a section of Sufis under Sahitya order was not against adjustment with Hindu sense of bhakti cult and used even Hindi language for Islamic devotional songs. The whole Bhakti Andolan revolution is the byproduct of Sufism. The Indian sects of Sufism are highly influenced by Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain faiths and philosophies. They are blessed, they are liberal and secular in their character. According to Madari philosophy, God is the soul, Muhammad the body, and the four caliphs are his legs and arms. They do not care for offering namaz or observing roja, fasting. Sufism lays emphasis on meditation, and every meditator has deep inner feeling. Famous poet Mirza Ghalib has unique experience in such meditation, and he has expressed his feelings in the following lines. I am there where I sit, unmindful of even myself. The only way to him is to get lost in his search. Influence of Sufism is also remarkable and powerful on Hindi poets. Several Hindi poets have composed their works which have influence and inspiration of Sufism. The main source of inspiration they draw from Muhammad Iqbal, a famous poet. I escape. Malik Muhammad Jasi composed his masterpiece epic named Padmavati under the influence of the Sufism philosophy. He can be really called Sufi Hindi poet. He was the leading poet of Sufism in the Hindi poetry. Besides Jayasri, Mandhan is also a noted poet who wrote Madhumati epic, which is a noteworthy work in Sufism. Then comes Kutban, who also wrote many mystic love poems based on Sufi philosophy. Poets who wrote Premakhyan works related to can be remembered with respect to this context. Sufism is called the path of art and the path of poverty. Material achievement does not matter at all in Sufism. Message. The main message and motto of Sufism is to spread peace, love, communal harmony, compassion, affection, and universal brotherhood. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I would like to quote some lines of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti here. Love all and hate none. Mere talk of God and religion will not take you far. Bring out all the latent powers of your seeing and general the full magnificence of your immortal self. Be a blazing fire of truth and be a settling balm of peace with your spiritual light. Dispel the darkness of ignorance. Dissolve the clouds of discord and war and spread goodwill, peace, and harmony among the people. Sufism leads from darkness to light and from ignorance to knowledge. So it can be said Sufism in India, like many other countries, shaped itself and established its distinct identity. Consequently, some sects came into being, can be termed as Indian sects. These sects are not influenced by the Sufi saints who came from abroad. Instead, these were the products of the soil. Now, Sufism in Nepal, the Dargah Mazar of Madar is situated on the top of the village municipality of the district of Navalparasi in the province number 5. It is Islam and Hindu pilgrims of Nepal, India, and Bangladesh throng on the special occasion of Shivratri and pray to fulfill their wishes. There also is held 8-day fair every year on this occasion, but it is since many. Very word Dargah means the door of God. It is also considered as a memorial of saints. Some people call it Dargah of Madar Baba. The Muslims of Tarai Madhesh also visit this religious place time and again. These religious-minded people whose wishes are fulfilled, they also visit this place to express their gratitude towards it. They have many miracles in their minds done by Madar Baba. Their many mundane problems are solved by visiting and offering their prayers to Madar Baba. According to Banu, 1980, most of the Muslims who came from Bihar and Bengal of neighboring country India and settled in the Kathmandu Valley as well as in Tarai, they are followers of Sufism. According to another scholar, 2001, these Muslims in the Kathmandu Valley as well as in Western Nepal and also in Tarai brought Sufism with them. Therefore, the Muslims are highly influenced by Sufism sect of Islam. They have deep faith in Sufism. Madar Baba has been the living tradition of Sufism, the headquarters of Sarnahid district, and therefore Malangwa has been named after him, which is now in province number 2 of Nepal. Thanking you for listening.
Thanks a lot, sir. Now I request Dr. Dhruvajyoti Boraji, the writer from India, to make his presentation. Briefly introduce yourself, please, Dr. Boraji.
I am basically an Indian writer writing in Assam. That is my mother tongue. And I also write in English, but most of my works are in Assamese. And some of them have been translated and some have been appreciated by people. So now I will try to, since I am a creative writer, I'll not present you any paper. A creative writer's creation is his voice. So I will try to read a little out from one of my books, which will give a fair idea of the status of fiction in India, I hope. One of my books in Assamese, its name is Kalantarar Gadya. That means the prose of tempest. But in English, it is Elysee for the East. Elysee for the East. It has been published by Niyogi, a very prestigious publisher. And from it, I will read a little. This book is about that before the relentless march of history, the lone individual is helpless. Yet, it is man whose collective efforts give history its momentum and usher in changes of eras. These changes are tempestuous at times, like churning that brings up both nectar and scum. This novel explores the utter helplessness and travail of man in face of overwhelming odds. Before the all-powerful, yet uncaring, anonymous, and overbearing state, how people suffer from in such a situation, especially in an era when there is social strife. So I read the chapter is balanced. The chapter is named "The Balance Sheet of Justice." A dusty evening had enveloped the city. The wintry sky has soaked the setting sun. The buses were crowded. The numbers of homebound pedestrians and vehicles were dwindling. At times, a military jeep would thunder past, leaving its reflections lingering for long in the terror-struck gaze of the passers-by. There was a checkpoint at every main square. With nightfall, checking would increase in these checkpoints, made of empty tar drums, iron flats, and sandbags. And these will be there till the morning. Now, some people, especially journalists, senior journalists, they are discussing about the situation. Cigarette smoke smothered the evening get-together at Chaudhury's house. Chaudhury is a very senior journalist. It hung like a veil of fog overhead. There weren't many people at the gathering. The invitees did not stay for long either. Delays inevitably resulted in unnecessary harassment at the checkpoints. At one time, only Partha and Jagdish was left. Then they discussed about the actual situations they have seen as journalists. And we come to a second line of story. Two cars roared up to Prabhat's house. Prabhat is a young boy, a late teenager, who is a protagonist of this novel. Two cars rode up to Prabhat's house and screeched to a stop. The cars blocked the narrow road completely. A number of men leapt out of the cars. Dressed in civil clothes, they carried guns. Banging the doors shut, they ran noisily into Prabhat's yard. And if they had no intention of keeping their arrival a secret. Some of them surrounded the house and rest ran up to the door and pounded it in. The Prabhat's father was not at home. Only Prabhat, his mother, and his sister were at home. His mother and sister ran up to the door, and the moment they heard the noise, a young boy who was riding his cycle in the dark started ringing his bell because the cars blocking the way. The man waiting near the gate immediately pounced on him and started beating him up. They threw his cycle into the ditch and forced them to kneel down in Prabhat's yard. The commotion in front of Prabhat's house warned the neighborhood, but people seemed to understand that the police were here and without any words being exchanged, the lights in every house went off. Doors were quietly bolted, and from the dark rooms, people peered out. The television sets playing in every house were switched off too. No, one could no longer see the reflection of the screens in the windows. An unnatural artificial darkness has descended. Now the journalists are discussing. You see, the real fun begins after the arrest. You know, that is interrogation. Partha's friend Jagdish pipped. You human rights people are a bit too interested in torture, Jagdish, Chaudhary interjected. The old man was in one of his moods today, thought Partha. Withdrawing from the window, Partha sat down next to Chaudhary to hear him talk. Torture does not begin on the interrogation table. Under bright lights or in a closed room, Jagdish. That is what people think. It is naive, simplistic. If you ask me, actually torture begins from the time of arrest, or even perhaps earlier. You doubt it, do you? It is so planned. And is it so planned and deliberate? Yes, it is. Since the modern state started using torture as an implementation of governance. The moment Prabhat's mother opened the door, we are coming back to the story, main story. The moment Prabhat's mother opened the door, the three men burst in and shoved the woman out of the way. The girl screamed, Ladka kahan hai? Where is the boy? Prabhat? The man pushed their way in. Prabhat was in his study table. Two men grabbed him by the arm. Kya naam? What is the name? Prabhat. Theek hai. Yahi hai. All right, he is here. Twisting his arms behind his back, they pushed him to stand before the third man. From the corner of his eyes, he could see the pale faces of his mother and sister. He was afraid. The man suddenly started slapping him mercilessly before his mother and sister. The sound exploded inside his head. With blurred eyes, he could see the windows and doors swinging open and shut violently. With a fearful cry, Prabhat's mother ran towards her son, but the man pushed her away. Hat jao, move away. He swore at her obscenely. Now, what about the discussion of the journalists? Arrests are generally made in the presence of the family. And that is deliberate, you see, Chaudhary said, opening his eyes. It's a common practice now to humiliate the victim and his family at the time of arrest. Do you know why? To scare them, Jagdish said. Exactly. To scare, to create fear, to create terror. Creating terror is an integral part of arrest. The days of the freedom struggle are gone. A police officer you know would come to your house and say, "Sir, there is an order for your arrest. This is the warrant. Please come to the station." His voice dipped with sarcasm. He added, "Oh, oh yes, do finish your lunch. I can wait. And do take some warm clothes. It's cold in the prison." Gone forever, Partha. In those times, the arrest aimed to terrorize. So the methods are in today's time, the arrests aim to terrorize. So the methods are violent. When a particular family in an area is terrorized, terror contaminates slowly the whole area. The hoarse, foxy laugher echoed in the room. You see, Partha, the idea is to break a person's will. So they abuse, the humiliation. The family is the victim as well. They are not told what is going to happen or what is happening. That is how person's will breaks in uncertainty and terror. They are helpless. They suffer from low self-esteem. Such people can no longer protest against the injustice. Forget about resistance. The environment had become stifling. From the dull lights from the lamp, cigarette smoke, taste of tobacco and cheap whiskey, there was nerve-wracking awareness that something was amiss in the darkness of the night. Yet he did not feel like leaving. Partha cast his gaze out of the window. The beat of ashy sky framed in the glass window. The discussion continued. I think this much will be enough for a fiction reading. So the whole purpose is to show how a modern state acts today. How during the time of arrest, the human dignity of the person arrested is deliberately destroyed. And an atmosphere of fear and terror is created. Everywhere in the world, this has become the pattern. And we are living in these times. And we need to be aware of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji.
With respect to Ajit Kaur.
Thank you, Balaji.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Rao. I just saw a glimpse of him.
Oh, namaskar. No, namaskar.
There he is.
Yes. Finally, I heartily thank Dr. Ramdayal Rakeshji, who presented his paper on Sufism, and Dr. Dhrubajyoti Boraj, who read out an excerpt from his novel to us. And of course, hearty thanks to Ajit Kaur ma'am and Dr. K. Srinivas Raoji, Secretary Sahitya. The session ends here. Thank you all.